Welcome everybody. Good afternoon, good Thursday afternoon. We keep switching the days up here, Scotty. We were on Mondays, we were on Tuesdays, we had Wednesday, and now we have a Thursday. So welcome to 757 Lacrosse Hour, our final show before we wrap things up here for the season. And we will certainly be back next year. We're switching things up today, folks. We got our guest on first, and we have a wonderful guest that we are very lucky to have on the program. And this is going to be great for parents and kids alike to hear from a fantastic lacrosse mind, one of the top college coaches in the country, and that is Mikey Thompson from CNU. Mikey, welcome. How are you today, sir?
Welcome, Coach.
Doing great. How are you guys doing?
Excellent, Mikey. And again, this is the first time we've had our guest on for the first segment, so this is a cool switch up for us. But it was really important for us to get you on for a lot of reasons. You know, not only are you a local college lacrosse coach that has had tremendous success at building a program, but now we're getting into the summer season for our kids. So a lot of our high school players have wrapped up their season and they're starting club ball, and we're getting guys going into their sophomore and junior and obviously senior seasons as well, and some guys that are looking to play in college. So what a great guy to have on to sort of talk about what a college coach is looking for in kids, and what your philosophy is at your program. But let's back up first, and if you don't mind telling us a little bit about yourself and your lacrosse journey.
Sure. I grew up in Richmond, Virginia, and played lacrosse at collegiate school, played lacrosse and football, a little bit of basketball, a little bit of wrestling, did some track, kind of every sport growing up. And after playing in high school, I went on to Virginia and played there for 4 years. I coached there for 1 year in 2011. And then after that experience as a coach, moved on to Christopher Newport University. I had an older sister who went to CNU, and my younger brother, John, had just committed to play lacrosse at CNU. So when they had a full-time opening there as an assistant, I've always loved the Virginia Beach area, the Peninsula area. Obviously grew up in Richmond, went to school in Charlottesville, and I'm a beach guy at heart. So it seemed like a good move for me to start my coaching career at CNU. The program was kind of just gaining some momentum. I love the school, love the location. And so it seemed like a good place to start. And here I am over 10 years later in the same place as the head coach. So been really fortunate to be at a spot that's really good for me, and plan on being here for a long time.
That's fantastic. Mikey, so you took over a program that was having some struggles and went sort of through a rebuild. When you're first taking over a program, right, and you're sitting down with your assistants and you're getting together of what you want your program to be, who are the kids that you're looking for? Obviously, we know that you played at a high level and you want kids that can play the game. But explain to us and to the viewers out there, what are you looking for in a player when you're recruiting them?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I'll back up a little bit. CNU started their lacrosse program in 2007, so we're still a relatively young program. And so when I got there, I knew that I was coming into a program that was really just starting. And I think for me, it all starts from a place of culture and creating an environment that allows the right kids to be at their best. And that's really what I feel like my job is as a head coach, is to really just create the environment for kids to thrive, whether that's on the field, off the field, in the locker room, all those different areas. And from there, to your question, it's about finding the right guys. And what I was looking for 10 years ago is very different from what I'm looking for now, just based on the trajectory of our program and the standards that have been set and kind of where we're at in the national landscape. But I think from a character standpoint, that's never really changed. It's just that we're looking at a different level of talent at this point, and we're bringing in kids from all over the country. But we have one rule at CNU, and we feel like everything kind of goes downstream from there, and that's to be a great teammate. So you can think of a million different black and white rules that you can have within your program, and sometimes there is need for that, the black and white stuff. But overall, if you keep that guiding principle of be a great teammate in the back of your mind, I think there's a lot of good things that can happen. And, easy examples would be playing time. How are you going to respond if you're not playing as much as you did in high school? How are you going to carry yourself off the field with something, bigger than yourself? That's always going to be in the back of your mind. And we use that honestly for the parents as well. When you have 55 guys on your roster and maybe only 25 to 30 max play on game day, there's a lot of parents that would love to be seeing their kids play on game day as well. And we all at the end of the day are part of the same team. So I think that is our guiding principle. And if you're not being a great teammate, that's something that I'm pretty bullish on, and I have to hold that standard very high.
Fantastic answer. Coach Holava, what do you got? I know you got a bunch of questions as well.
Yeah, Coach. You're basically speaking to the culture. So the culture, although you're a young program, so that really doesn't change because it is what it is. So again, the selflessness of being the best teammate is, especially for the younger guys listening. Okay, it's not the easiest thing for everyone to do. So how do you help to develop that in the kids? But Coach, just to back up just a little bit for you, how did you? We spoke a few weeks ago about developing our coaching philosophy for some of the new and younger coaches or from these programs starting up. How did you develop your coaching philosophy? I spoke to a little bit about how I kind of figured out how I wanted to maybe proceed with coaching with my style, if you will. But how did you come about, like your philosophies or what have you with that?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. I actually think to back up, it has a lot to do with what your personal philosophy is as well, and that's actually an exercise that we do with our guys. We lead them through a series of questions to really find out like what you're all about as a person, and really boil that down to either a sentence or like even two or three words. So the words that I've come up with for myself are mentor, inspire, and exhaust every moment. And we lead them through basically a series of questions. The first one is to list like 10 people that you respect or hold in high regard. And then next to each of those names, you write down what is the quality that you really respect about that person. I think the next thing is to write down maybe a quote or a mantra that you've always been drawn to, and then basically circle, 5 from there, and you have this scratch sheet of paper of all these names and words and qualities and quotes and stuff like that, and you just start playing around with it and be like, what am I all about? How can I be as close in alignment with those words or that sentence as I can at the end of the day? And then as I look back on my day, I have a journaling practice, and usually when I do those 3 things, if I inspire people around me, if I serve as a mentor, and I feel like I'm present and exhaust every moment, I usually had a pretty good day. So I think to answer your question, it really has to do with authenticity. I've obviously learned so much from so many different coaches, but the minute as a coach you try and be something that you're not, or move away, like kids can sniff out when you're not being authentic to yourself really, really quickly. So if I had, one piece of advice to, a younger coach, it would be yourself, figure out what you're all about, and then your program is going to kind of take shape from there.
That's fantastic. And we've had the pleasure, certainly I have, of being around guys that played for you. Jackson Deal being one of them, getting to know Jackson really well, and some of his roommates now, who still play pickup with us and who I've gotten to know. And you can tell the difference with those guys of what type of people they are. Another thing that Jackson Deal has talked to me a lot about, what you guys do, is the mental health side of it, which I think is incredibly unique. And I really applaud you for that. I don't think enough coaches have the guts to speak about that with young men. I think as lacrosse players especially, we try to put a lot of that stuff off and try to pretend it's not there, and sort of just try to forget about it. And for you to bring that out in your players is unique and certainly just an amazing thing. What drove you to bring that into your program? Was there anything in particular that made you really make that a priority?
John
Yeah, well, I
Gordon.
think there's just no getting around it. It's real and it's so important. And when you accept the fact that life can be hard, you start to develop habits and ways of accepting that and then not using it as a vulnerability, but being strong. And so we recognize, some of the things that our guys are going through are not easy. And even from the standpoint of being part of a highly competitive team, like just what we're asking our guys to do on a daily basis isn't easy. So you need to have real skills, mental skills, to be able to do that over a long period of time. Um, and so I think it's the combination of like knowing that to be great on the field and to be, consistent, not just kind of a shooting star that has one good year, but to be consistent over the course of your career. But ultimately, even more importantly, like once you graduate from our program, the hope is that you're going to have the skills to kind of take whatever life throws at you and be successful. One of our core values is believe, and that's not just believing that we're going to win a national championship. It's really the belief that everything we're asking you to do is going to ultimately be what's best for you after college. Whether you're a starter or whether you're the last guy off the bench, being a great teammate, learning how to work hard, learning all these mental skills, taking control of your mental health, learning stuff like sleep, nutrition, and mindfulness, whatever it is, that's the stuff that's going to be most important for you after college. So I've just always seen the value in it, and I hope that it is something that our guys can take away after their time with us.
Well, I think it's incredibly unique and such a great thing. Sorry, Coach.
Yeah, Coach. I call that coaching the 27-year-old self of the player.
Yeah.
What are we doing after we're done with all this lacrosse? Where are we taking from there? And I'm going to put this is my parent hat on. This is my dad hat now. So I got to know Coach Thompson as just a father of sons that played lacrosse. So I knew of him, of course. But again, when I was on the team, and Coach, I love how you said that. Parents are on the team. It's a group of people. We're all in the same group. We're all trying to do the same thing. And again, we're hopefully all trying to help the kids be the best versions of themselves that they can be. Coach, I've heard you say that probably 10 different ways on this call so far. So I love that as a parent of players, watching my own sons thrive under that environment. And maybe I'm biased, coaches, because that's when I was going back to my own philosophy, when I heard John Gordon talk at one of the conventions I spoke of, and I heard him talking about all this mindset stuff. And I didn't think that was something like Coach Hargrave said just a minute ago, that, can we talk about that? Are we supposed to talk about that? I mean, I loved hearing about that. I wanted to talk about that because it helps the person. So I built a lot of my coaching philosophy around that. And we've been joking about the X's and O's and stuff like that on here. And I just think it's so much more than that. But anyway, that was really, really good to hear, Coach. Love it. Love it as a dad. Love it as a coach. Love it as a player. All of it. So.
Yeah, and not to get too didactic or too into the weeds about what you're we talked a little bit about what you're looking for in a kid, but as far as a player, if you're in high school, what can a player do to get on a radar of coaches? And what I mean by that, Coach Thompson, is a lot of times these kids are seeing things on Instagram, right? They're seeing whoever from St. Chris or from Stab or from NA or Catholic committed to a college, and I think a lot of the kids still are not well versed on these coaches. Coach Mikey Thompson is not necessarily just reaching out to you. Okay, you have to make the first step to contact coaches where you're interested in going. I think kids still are there's a disconnect, certainly with parents too, about that. So what can a kid do to get on a coach's radar for college?
Play 3-by.
Yeah, that's a good start, right, Coach? Well, as I've been doing this longer, one of the principles that I think I've had to learn over time is that clear is kind and unclear is unkind. And I think that as a guy that I consider myself a kind person. I like to make people happy. I like to it especially earlier in my coaching career, there were times where I probably told kids or parents just what they wanted to hear versus, the brutally honest truth. So I think I'll start answering that question by saying, you have to be good enough. And it's a very simple answer, but coaches are so thorough these days, that it's what's best for the kid, and it's also what's best for the program to recruit kids that you really genuinely think have a chance to, play in that program. And so there's no way you're going to just kind of skate by and put out a couple Instagram highlights, that make you look really good, and all of a sudden get like recruited and offered a spot on that program's roster. We get 30 emails a day, from kids trying to be recruited, and that's all good. I cannot possibly sit at my computer and respond to every kid these days, and watch every highlight tape. So if you are getting kind of generic emails back from coaches that, you know, ask you to send out or fill out a recruiting questionnaire or come to a prospect day, it's not because the coach isn't doing his job. It's just because the flood of information these days for college coaches is really hard to keep up with. So I'll start by saying you do have to be good enough, and then you have to get out there. I think playing for a good club team is obviously a good thing. Mixing in a couple showcases here and there is probably a good thing. Identifying schools that you would really love to go to and going to a couple prospect days is probably a good thing as well. In terms of when you're actually at the point where you can be recruited, everything up to that point and also in between that point needs to be working on your game on your own, obviously. Yeah, having an email that has all your basic information, a good short highlight tape, is great. Obviously, doing well in school, putting your GPA on there, obviously great as well. That's all just kind of like the baseline of what you need to do to put yourself out there to be recruited. And then from there, just understanding that, like, in most instances, you're going to end up in a place that is going to be the right fit for you, as long as you're proactive about it and you truly, truly want to not only get recruited, but play lacrosse for 4 years and do everything that's required, to do that and to be a great teammate. So, maybe a little bit long-winded there. But again, like, just understanding that, like, college coaches do this for a living, and you do need to be good enough to be recruited and be offered a spot these days. There's a lot of great players out there, a lot of great athletes. And as a college coach, like, one of my jobs is to project what you might be like 4 years after graduating high school, not necessarily how good of a high school player you are. And I think sometimes that's hard for kids and parents to understand is, hey, my kid had this many points in high school, but we're looking for guys that have a really, really high ceiling, because
Right.
ultimately you're going to be playing against, 21, 22-year-old men that have been in a college weight room for 4 years and playing lacrosse every day under a great coach. So that's something that I think is important to understand as well.
No, we're chuckling over here because we say all of these things, and you're right. Even as I've gotten older and been doing this 20 years as a coach, it's hard sometimes, right? Especially if you know people for a long time and they've played for your club team for a while, or they played for your high school. It's not easy having those conversations at times to say, hey, look, you're not going to be good enough for this program, but there's a spot for you. It may not be here. That is a difficult conversation to have, but it's an honest one. And if you cut the honesty out, like you said, it's unclear and you're just treading water.
Yep, and
So
authentic.
again, for parents and kids to hear that, and for Scott and I too to hear that from a top level coach is important. And I think that's it's not made clear enough to some of the kids. So that's absolutely fantastic, sage advice from you. So we appreciate that.
Coach, I got a question, back to the parent hat. Talk about the financial aid, scholarships. I know Division III, no scholarships technically, right? But what kind of financial aid, or what can people do to follow that, or to help with that cost?
Yeah, it's going to be completely different at every school. That would be my best advice is you have to get specific with whatever coach and whatever institution you're talking to. Some schools, the price tag is going to be a lot higher, but they're able to offer more money and grants and stuff like that academically based on grades. CNU is a state school, so it's a little bit different. You're going to get, a lower tuition, but there's not quite as much academic money. And then Division I is a different world, especially today. You never know how much money you're going to get in Division I these days. It's changing every year pretty dramatically. So my advice there would be look at what the tuition is, talk to the coach, talk to the financial aid office, and you're gonna have to get specific with every institution on that one.
Yeah, great question, Coach Holava, because that's important again when talking about divisions. I think this is probably more than a statement than a question, but you've played Division I lacrosse and now you coach Division III lacrosse. I think too much is made nowadays with kids on what division I'm playing in, right? Everybody wants the D1 title. They think they're going to get money when in fact, I'm blessed enough to still know some Division I coaches and Mikey, you know this already. There's not as much money as some people think there is. There's I think players. It was one of the guys you and I both know, a coach at UVA, who told me, and I might be paraphrasing this, or you may know better than I, but there was 3 Tewaaraton winners at Virginia where if you added up all their scholarship money, it wouldn't even be one complete player that they paid for. So there's a disconnect between how much money is out there, and then there's also a disconnect between I have to play Division I so everybody can think I'm a good player. And I think that's complete baloney now, because look at what CNU has done over the past years, and look at these guys transferring from a Tufts to go play at a Division I college. We had Charlie Bertrand on 2 weeks ago, who was a Division II Player of the Year at Merrimack and went to Virginia and was very successful. So what are your thoughts on that as far as the kid's so concerned about what division they're playing?
Yeah, I mean, when we go through the recruiting process, I always tell kids, like, my job isn't to convince kids to come to CNU. It's really just to show them what we have to offer. And that's academically, that's geographically, that's our lacrosse program, that's our, areas of study, all those different things. And if there's alignment there with the kid, his ceiling is going to be so much higher than me just telling him why he should come to CNU. Because then if he gets there and there's not that alignment, his ceiling is going to drop a little bit. So, it doesn't really have to do too much with the Division I versus Division III thing. Where we're at is a program right now, pretty much every kid that we're recruiting has legitimate middle of the pack, lower end Division I interest. And so when you start to kind of break down that barrier of D1, D3, you start to see what might be the best fit for you. The higher levels of Division III can definitely compete with some of those schools. So it's not necessarily about the level of play. I always try and tell kids too to look at some of the records of those Division I programs right, that they're going to, and I say that kind of jokingly, but at the same time, like, a lot of kids that we're recruiting come from state championship winning teams, and they've been on parts of winning cultures, and all of a sudden, you're winning 2 games a year, and it doesn't feel good.
Nope.
So it is something to consider. And from the scholarship side of things, like 12.6 scholarships. And again, this might all change as soon as 2025. Who knows what's going to happen with scholarships in the NCAA. But with expensive schools and you're breaking 12.6 by 55, when I went to UVA, it was cheaper for my family to just use financial aid than the scholarship I was going to get. Yeah. And then over the course of 3 years, my scholarship built up, and I had a significant scholarship for my senior year, which was great. But there's some really, really awesome coaches and awesome schools and awesome programs to be a part of across all 3 divisions.
And we know you got to run here, but since this is a local podcast and we're talking a lot, mostly about the high school teams here and about what we can do to improve. It's no secret, again, you're a college coach who's a very straightforward, honest guy. We look at your roster. You guys have certainly had some 757 guys on there. But what can we do better as an area for these younger kids specifically to get them better? Because we know we have to raise the tide here. We understand we have to get better. Every team down here, from the MAs to the Salems to Catholic to Kellum, we all have to be better. What from sort of the outside looking in, what are some things you think need to be done here to improve the level of lacrosse?
Yeah, I mean, definitely something I'm very passionate about as well. I've been in Virginia Beach, living here. I call this place home. I've been here since 2012, and I think the first thing I would say is don't stop playing other sports. I think that the top level Division III, the Division I kids that are playing are athletes, so strength and conditioning, all the stuff that they're doing to become better athletes is all good. I even still look at some of my own guys that only played lacrosse, and I scratch my head at their spatial awareness or their inability to, scan the field and keep their head up, like certain attributes that you would learn from playing soccer, playing football or other sports. So definitely do not stop playing other sports. But I think my main thing would just be like consistency. I know that there's lots of people in the area that are trying to just continue to develop grassroots type stuff that helps kids fall in love with the game and stay in love with the game. That would be my biggest ask, is that the coaches in the area kind of keep that as the guiding principle. Like, we want kids that love the game. And that's what I look for in my own recruits, is guys that I know are going to get better, because it's not a coach asking them to do the extra work. They want to do the extra work. They want to, they want to be great. So you're both familiar with all the pickup stuff, and it's been cool to see how much better kids have gotten over a short period of time. And it's because the game is so fun. And that's kind of where it all starts, is loving the game, wanting to get out there and play as much as they possibly can. And then from there, having people and mentors in their lives that continue to guide them to kind of continue to take the next step, so that we can compete with some of those other clubs outside of Virginia Beach. And, obviously having all the public schools being varsity sports now was a gigantic step, because we know the athletes are here. We just need to get them involved in lacrosse early and keep them involved as much as we can.
Excellent. Coach Holava, I know Coach Thompson's got limited time, so anything else for Coach T here before we let him go?
No, just again, I feel like I was hearing us talk for the last 9 weeks here, Mark. all the things Coach said, especially finishing with the multi-sports. I mean, my freshman football coach was the varsity lacrosse coach, and he was like, at the end of football season, he was like, if you're not a baseball player, I expect to see you on lacrosse. And I had no idea, really, even to be an upstate New York kid. So I said, sure, I think I'm getting brownie points for football, Coach Thompson. And I picked the stick up, and, here we are today. We're on a podcast talking about lacrosse. So it's amazing. Just, again, I didn't know I was developing all that stuff, playing all the sports I was playing, especially the basketball part. I wanted to be a basketball player, and I got caught. That's back to your mindset and not giving up and perseverance and grit and resilience and all the things I didn't realize I was actually developing as a kid. They were really superpowers for your adulthood, for sure. But
yeah,
and
I'll also, guys, Coach, I'll real quickly just kind of address the elephant in the room, because as college coaches, we do sometimes speak out of both ends of our mouths. We say, play multiple sports, but then we're all on the sideline in the fall expecting kids to be playing, to be recruited. Right. So that's one of the reasons I've been involved with Amped, since graduating college. Like, that was one of our big goals, was to allow kids to play multiple sports and have a select team model that didn't practice multiple days a week during the fall and during the summer. We wanted athletes that could come together and play a high level, at specific times, so that we could kind of be recruited while also play multiple sports. And I thought that was a really cool model. And it still is. So what I would say is, like, when it's time to go get recruited, there's definitely value in playing on a good club team and really focusing in on that. But in the off season and on your own time, playing multiple sports and doing things that are going to help develop you as an athlete and as a lacrosse player is really important as well. So just know that there's a balance there. The club coaches are going to want you to play all year, all the time, and play in all the tournaments. And of course, your high school basketball coach and football coach are going to want you too. So it's not easy, but just realize that there is a balance there. And for every coach that tells you it can't be done, you might need to think a little bit harder about how you can get it done, because I think there's real value there.
That's awesome. Well, Coach Thompson, thank you so much for your time. Again, we're really lucky to have you on, and every kid around here is lucky to be able to hear real advice and real answers from a college coach. So we thank you so much.
Yeah, we're grateful for the game, for bringing people together, Coach, for sure, and for giving us the opportunity to really grow the game. We have a great opportunity here locally. It's all infancy still, so appreciate you being on, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me, and I hope to see some more kids out at pickup. And I don't care where it happens. The more we can get kids out playing pickup with a tennis ball and no pads, it's so easy to do. And if there's a secondary answer to that question about what more can we do, that's the answer, 100% for me. Play pickup.
Yeah, I got Sherwood Lakes. My little mini-me's are out there. I'm in the neighborhood Pied Piper of Lacrosse there, playing 3x with tennis balls with all the littles. So I think the parents are probably wore out from Coach H. Trying to recruit their kids. But yeah, awesome.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate everything.
Right.
Have a great
day.
weekend.
All right, folks, we'll be back for probably our final session of the season. Thanks so much. See you in a minute.
I grew up here. I know this town. I know the people here. More important, they know me. As a banker at Town Bank, we become part of the communities we serve. The people who bank with us, our members, know us. When you bank with Town Bank, you'll know your banker. You'll know you can reach us, and you'll know we're here for you.
Well, it's everybody's favorite time of year again. Time to prepare to make your annual donation to that infernal revenue service. And if you're like me, you need help. Help to keep that donation as small as possible. You need John Maynard. PFP, LUTCF, EA, all those initials behind his name mean he's qualified to work on your taxes. He's an ATA, accredited tax advisor. He's an ATP, accredited tax preparer. He's a fellow at NTPI, the National Tax Practice Institute. And if all that weren't enough, he's also been voted the best of Norfolk and the best of Virginia Beach awards. John Maynard has been professionally trained in tax preparation and representation. He brings to the table over 30 years' experience in federal and state returns. He delivers personalized, one-on-one service, and he's a certified electronic filer. The IRS likes electronic filers. So get off your W-2 and call John Maynard at John's Tax Service, 455-6763.
Treat yourself to a visit to the Drip Bar IV Hydration and Vitamin Therapy in Virginia Beach. Boost your immunity, increase your energy, and promote anti-aging with our personalized treatments designed to ensure efficient nutrition absorption to rejuvenate your mind and body. Come see our chic and relaxing day spa for yourself today. We welcome walk-ins and appointments. Our medical professionals will help you achieve your best health and answer all your questions. The Drip Bar at Lansdowne Commons in Virginia Beach.
Back on. Hello, everybody. That was a great session. That was weird to do that first, man. I like it, though. That was really great.
Discombobulated.
Yeah, they threw us off a little bit, but Coach Thompson was limited on time, and it was fantastic to have him on. I think it's really important going into the summer to have that coach, is the honesty about what's going on, and I think, I can speak for myself. I got some honesty last weekend bringing the 2026 COVA FCA team up to Maryland, where we got our fannies beat in a little bit.
You forgot to bake the humble pies before you
we knew what we were getting ourselves into. I got a bunch of kids on that team who these kids know everything now. It's crazy, and instead of us going, I don't even know who the guy guarding me is half the time in high school. These guys know everything. So we went up there and experienced a huge piece of humble pie, but it was great. It's better than going up and kicking everybody's ass and getting nothing out of it. And so it was really humbling for the kids to see it. And certainly we got to talk about the Kellum game. Those guys, I think, I have 5 of those players on my club team. I think even 6. But, those guys were great. I was so proud of those kids when they came up Saturday night to dinner, the way they handled themselves. They understood what they were getting themselves into, and it's not putting them down. I spoke to a bunch of Kellum parents Saturday night. They said the same thing. Riverside was a very good team. I mean, this is just what it is. Again, we're proud of those guys for making the states. It's not taking anything away from them, but, and I may piss some people off here, but it goes to show you where we need to get, right? I mean, again, we're trying to lift all tides here, and you got to play who you got to play. You could say the same thing about Norfolk Academy or whoever else, that they got to play some of the TCIS teams who are not as strong right now.
Or coach, a rising tide lifts all boats.
And it does. But I think we also have to keep that perspective. It doesn't mean that we don't keep positive. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying we go against, and I become a hypocrite now in the last week of the podcast, and saying that we go back on all the positives, and no, not at all. But it's also, I do it every day in my life with work. I do it with my own son, right? Like, you have to understand where you're at and then where you need to get. So I'm proud of those guys, but it's that, I guess my point is for everybody, right? For my 2016, this is what I told them. That's what's out there, fellas. That's what's out there at your own age group. Okay? And these were good teams that we played. I can only speak, I'm not the coach of anything else but FCA right now. The teams we played were very talented. We played the FCA Maryland team, folks. And we talked to the director of FCA Maryland. That's their B team. They killed us, Coach Holava. They killed us. That's their B team. He goes, you should see the A team. And he said, you should see the other.
For a long time.
Yeah.
When they're
so
little.
Yeah, and it's okay. We have to come together and try to better the game, which we will do. As Coach Holava says, we're not there yet, but we will get there. But it is also okay to have perspective. I don't know what your thoughts are on that,
Well,
Scott.
I mean, Coach Thompson, he said it too. I mean, you got to get them started younger, younger, like little kid sports, get them in there. And then, God willing, and hopefully we have an environment that makes it so damn fun that the kid just wants to keep going.
Absolutely.
And not put the stick down. So, again, if your environment's sucky, then who the hell wants to go back out there? Nobody does.
Right.
So,
yeah.
well, how do you do all that? It's not easy, obviously.
No, and it's an uphill climb. It's a fun uphill climb, but it's in stages. I don't know if you'd agree with that, right?
No, I agree. I've been the most impatient one. That's probably half my frustration with all of this.
Right.
Being Kellum's coach and dealing with all that, all the newness and
Right.
roadblocks and all the stuff. I didn't probably handle it as well as I could have. But I'm impatient. It's frustrating because I know what it can be.
Right. Oh, we can get it
I know
there.
what it can be.
Yeah, absolutely.
I
And
know what it will be.
what it will be, and again, we'll get it there. But Coach T made a great comment too about getting more kids out to play. So we will find the athletes, and I really loved how honest he was about guys and girls. You got to be good enough.
You gotta be good.
It's hard.
That's life.
It's hard.
It's
Hey,
hard.
look, I'm gonna call somebody out right now, and I'm gonna be hard on them. And you know who that person is?
Yourself.
Me! I went out last night and played a summer league, and I stunk, Coach Holava.
But
I
you woke up again
stink.
today, so
I did, and you know what? I can't wait to get out there last week.
You appear to be
I had
happy.
Tommy Lewis, my buddy Tommy Lewis on the tackle with me, my own son Owen Hargrave. We got Thomas Lewis at midfield. We got Jackson Keller. We got all these great players. Hargrave and Lewis, the other Hargrave, involved in the first 3 or 4 goals.
no, we're gonna have the Holava.
You know who wasn't?
The Holavas are out there next week.
I wasn't
Mikey.
involved. I dropped the ball in the crease. Lewis hit me on the crease. I dropped it. I tried to feed my son. I got picked off. I stunk. I was
57.
stink.
I'm 57. You guys will get a chance to get a piece of me out there.
Well, I'm going to be better next week. I'm telling you right now. I'm going out there. I'm going to be better next week. I'm going to work on my game because that was embarrassing, Hargrave. Embarrassing. Look, he's got the helmet on. I tried to get him out last night with us. I know he was busy, but we need the Holavas too out there
You
with
can
us.
get a piece of me if you want.
You could have subbed
bring
in for
it.
me at the first 2 minutes of the game. I was
Am I allowed to
terrible.
play attack? Or you're gonna make you play D midi?
No. We don't no midi for us. Come on.
I'm 57. I got to be the oldest one out there with a helmet on.
You actually, I think you would have taken the cake last night.
Oh, come on, man.
I looked like I was 87 out there.
Listen, but back to the local, just our competition level. Again, so Kellum has to go play in a state championship game against a team that was playing at a bazillion miles an hour.
Right.
And they were everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's, when I was coaching Kellum, the hardest part was getting the guys to be ready for a real team.
Right.
And to play at that speed and to be ready to be pressed out against and to be able to work your ass off to get open for the ball. Because that's what it takes against real teams. You can't just stand on your island, which you get so complacent and used to that because you're not challenged enough. So, again, how do you do that, when you're at practice? How do you challenge your guys and make it, I don't know, I used to call it the game within the game, if you will. But, it's hard. It's really hard.
It is, and I think just, again, getting more athletes who we can teach at a younger age to play. When you get into the levels now of club and high school and you're going against those guys every day in practice, you're going to be ready for teams. Because, look, other areas have done it. Let's be honest. We're behind the ball. Mm-hmm. Other areas have done it better than us. Again, we're not putting down anybody that's trying, meaning both of us too.
Well,
trying to get
have
better.
they done it better or have they just been going longer?
No, I think they've done it better if we're being honest with ourselves here. If we're being honest, right? Mm-hmm. Still with the positivity, still with the we're going to get there. If we're being honest, I think it's done better. And I think having soccer in the spring doesn't help us. You're eliminating tons of athletes who could be great lacrosse players. I'm not going to change that overnight. Certainly you're not. But I'd like to see it get there. One of the other things, again, that we hit on a little bit with Coach Thompson is the club component. Because just getting out of a high school season, having a son who's on the team, you're locked in, right? You have a son on the team, you're locked in for 4 months. Now you have to go with your club team and perform high for these college coaches if they're there, if you want to get recruited. It's not an easy transition, but I think Coach Thompson is right. I think it's a must. I mean, you got to try to get yourself out there and have coaches see you and play at a high level. So, I'm not one to tell what club is best for what family because it's different for everyone. But I do think it's important. We just picked up a couple kids from the first Colonial team last night who I watched play Summer League. They're talented. I mean, they're kids who could be good players. And I think we have to, again, it doesn't matter what club it is. I don't care what the name is. We have to stress to the kids that if you do want to play and you want to get better, that is also a good environment for you to be in if your high school team is maybe not up to par yet of where, where your level is. Again, I don't know what your take is on that, Coach, or what your philosophy is on club, but
so you're talking to a 57-year-old guy here. We didn't have any of this.
I did not either.
So, as a parent of players, again, what I liked the best about Amped, for example, where my kids played, was that culture. So all the things Coach Thompson spoke to, I liked my kids playing other sports. We didn't have to feel pressure about them missing things or not being available for any team or all the teams. So I love that. I call them the competing factions is what I call them. So again, we have a limited pool of people and you're all competing and trying to get these kids on these teams. So it's the parent involvement. You have to put your kid where you think is going to be the best for your kid. So again, how realistic is that socioeconomically? I mean, not everyone can afford to go play for Amped or whatever team. All these things. So then if you're in that situation, which again, I would have been if I was in the current environment as a child playing. We didn't have money for this. So I wanted to be a hockey player. I didn't have ice time money in my family. I wasn't a hockey player. I was Wayne freaking Gretzky in my street hockey leagues for sure. But so those other guys, that aren't on these club teams, how do you maybe get seen? I mean, prospect day. How else?
Well, it's coming from your perspective, because you coach at Virginia Wesleyan as well, how do you perceive coaches outside of this area, although it's hard for you, but you know them, how do you think they perceive players in this area, if we're being totally honest for right now?
Well, I got to think if they're honest, and Coach Thompson, let's say what he said again, was if you can play, you can play. It's undeniable. So, but how do they know you can play? We have YouTube and we have all this stuff too. So you can get film out there pretty easily of yourself. But even then, where Coach Thompson said, okay, great, you can play, we see your video, but are you the best teammate ever? Or do you bring those other things to the party?
Right.
Which are, to us, the most important things.
It is. And I think it's hard for some of the kids because they're buried in these phones and they're buried in the Xbox and other things to open themselves up to fail. You and I have talked about that a couple times on this podcast. Are you afraid to make yourself look bad? Look, I'm just talking from experience from last weekend. I've coached club for a long, long time. I've coached for a long time. And it's hard when you're up there getting your fanny beat in by somebody to get on the field and say, I'm gonna dodge this guy, or I'm gonna try to mark this guy up at X, and I know he's good and I know he's better than me. I'm still gonna go to the rack. I'm still gonna try to draw a slide. I'm still gonna go for a ground ball against the guy who clearly is probably better than me. We have a face-off guy, Jack Pinkos, who was going against kids who I say even in high school do this professionally. I'm so proud of Jack, man. He worked his tail off and never gave up the whole weekend, and that's not an easy thing to do. Well, you're on an island.
But I think your culture probably is not focused on the outcome. So
it wasn't.
As much as it's funner to win, but we're not focused on the winning. So again, you're going to focus on that moment. You're in the challenge, your one-on-one matchup, whatever you're doing right now, and try to be the best.
Well, you would have loved it, so I wanted to bring this point up to you. There was 2 games last weekend that we played where there was no scoreboard. You know, they have the little scorecards. Mm-hmm. None. And I thought right away, Scott would love this. Yeah. There was over 80 college coaches at that Baltimore summer kickoff. It was a really good tournament. And I thought Scotty would love this because they were clearly telling the kids, just go play, go do the best that you can, and compete. And I think that's another hurdle that, I don't care what area it is, it could be here or any other sort of startup.
Is that like a different, obviously different format, but you're not in a championship?
No T-shirt. It's fun when the kids are little. I know they love that, and so then I love it as a coach. If they love it and they're into it, I don't love it as much as probably they did, but if there's some component of that when they're little guys, I'm fine with that, but I love much better now.
Well, of course we're preparing to win. We want to prepare to win the game.
For sure.
We're not preparing to lose.
Yeah, but it's I like that hey, this is high school. We want to see how you guys compete. Mm-hmm. We want to see how you handle yourselves maybe when you lose, not only when you win, and what type of person you are. And again, I think that stuff we talk about it so much, but it's nice for Scott and I to have other coaches come on here or other players come on here for the last 8 weeks and tell you all that we're not just spitting what we're spitting, that this is what they're thinking as well.
And again, Coach, it's not like I sit there and make this up on my own.
Right.
I've had great mentors and people that taught me all of this. So between reading books and being surrounded by good people and good mentors, you get a lot of good stuff in life, for sure.
There is. And there's a lot of great stuff going on here. You know, Tommy Lewis texted me last night, late at night after we were both probably body aching and just laying out and trying to make sure we were going to get up today. He said, how great is it that we have a league down here, that we're able to play with our kids, you know, able to play with our sons. I was able to play with former players I coached last night, kids I watched. That's awesome. And I don't think that a lot of areas do that. I really don't. I think it's in the areas that are better, it's so separated between the high school, middle school, and adult. I'm sure there's adult leagues, but there's not a lot of places that you're able to play. Oh, it's so much. We had such a blast. I stunk, but I had so much fun. Like I said, I can't wait to go out next week and get better, baby.
You're a kneecap Coach H. Get a piece of Coach Holava.
Yeah, it's awesome. And another thing I told our kids too, and I'll bring it back on a not only positive note, but on a real note. This is how I feel. Yeah, Baltimore's better than us, upstate, Long Island. I know they're better than us. You know what? I'd rather not be anywhere but here. And I mean that. And I felt that last night. I'd rather not be anywhere but here coaching these kids.
I'm going to speak just from the heart a little bit, Coach, to that. I don't know. My kids won a national championship. McKee McKellum, those guys state championship game in second year. I mean, I'm going to go on and on about just the culture of winning. We're back to the winning. Again, I just think it takes care of itself in life. If you just try to be the best you can in everything you do, and take all the things, the good, the bad, as I've been saying, my new phrase, amor fati, is embrace it all and find a good lesson in it. It's going to make you better. You got crappy stuff. So
it's not easy what we're doing here, but again, I mean that there's no place I'd rather be than with these kids. The guys, the adult guys, such good mentors out there to these kids, guys playing hard. Kids, a younger kids seeing adults like me who were inept. I was good at one point, I swear. Scott played with me. I used to be good, guys. I was a good player at one time. I was, but seeing older guys out there trying their best, riding hard, having fun with it, but still playing hard and competing, I think that's important for kids to see that, that they can go out there even when they're older and still play hard and have a great time.
What I love about seeing, I saw the rosters come through the Instagram a couple of days ago, whatever. What I love it is you got VHSL and you got TCIS. Everybody's everybody out there. Doesn't matter. We're all playing on the team together. It seems like they try to maybe organize them a little bit.
Mix them up, you mean, a little bit?
Yeah, mix them up, organize them, whatever, by teams and whatever. But again, it's everybody knows everybody. You were saying that earlier. When the kids line up against another team, they probably are teammates on another team, maybe.
Oh, for sure. And the guys after the game talking to each other, my son's friends with a couple guys at NOCO and a couple guys at Cox, and certainly Kellum, his teammates. It's awesome to see these guys off the field just hanging out and talking. And then certainly the adults as well. We're all having a good time, but we're still out there trying hard and trying to compete and trying to catch the ball when it's thrown right to your stick on the crease.
It's hard to run and catch at the same time.
So my mind knows what I'm doing.
And head like this, I'm a bobble.
Yeah. My mind knows what I'm doing. My body just can't do it anymore.
Catch up.
I know.
I'm like 25 pounds lighter though, so I'm feeling.
I've told you this already twice now on this podcast. Can you just take 20 pounds from me, just for a couple weeks?
I just said svelte on a podcast. What was the big word you used half an hour ago? I almost fell off my chair. I thought I was the big word guy on the show, and you just trumped me on that.
Well, was it the didactic about just
didactic?
Well, I don't want to make it boring because Coach Thompson is such a philosophical guy, so I know it's hard. Well, I don't want it to make it be like what's A, B, C, and D things a kid can do. But this is stuff that Scott and I are asked all the time by parents, like, what can we do? And we think we know the answers, but it's just, again, it's good to hear a guy like him say the same things that we're saying.
I loved how he's talking about the parents being on the team. Again, so it's difficult. Okay? I've had a challenging season this year, watching my kid on a team I wasn't coaching anymore. You know? So I was the parent. What am I going to do? How am I going to act? Am I going to be some big ass? I don't know. Maybe I was, maybe I wasn't. I tried hard not to be, trust me. But again, I'm only a human being. So, but again, I'm on the team.
Yeah. Well, you developed a lot of these, so many of these kids on that team, and had so much to do with them, and everybody knows that.
Great.
Yeah.
How great did they do, man?
Well, they did fantastic. And again, honestly, if you watch, like I've been to a couple of CNU games, you watch their parents, it's fun. They have a good time. Like they're really into it. I was in that situation. A lot of my players know I was in that situation in college where I was a really good high school player on Long Island, and I figured, I got this. I got Mount St. Mary's. Come on, I'm going to start right away. And my son's going to plug his ears right now if he listens because he's heard the story 8,000 times. But Steve Ricker from St. Mary's High School in Annapolis, Maryland, was on the quote-unquote national championship team in 1996. And they were the best team in the country. Never played. Fourth attackman, got maybe 3 minutes a game when they'd blow somebody out. Hardly ever played. Came to Mount St. Mary's, scored 56 goals. And I understand it's not a great Division I school. I don't care. He's scoring 5-6 goals against UMBC, Navy, Bucknell. He could play. But he was going up every day against hammers. Mm-hmm. I was not at Lopes Valley High School. I played against great teams, but that was once or twice a week, where every day in practice I was not getting that. Yeah. And he was. We were both pretty decent players and athletes, but he was way more prepared. So I guess the philosophy is the more you can prepare yourself to be better if you want to play in college, which is much harder than when Scotty and I played. It's harder.
Well, I
think
offense to that a little bit. I mean, I was on Cortland. We were number 4 in the nation.
Oh, yeah.
Division 3
Yeah,
back then. I mean,
absolutely.
We played Princeton. Princeton was nothing. We beat
Yeah.
the crap out of Princeton. I had 2 goals against Princeton.
Yeah.
1986.
Right.
You know, so now Princeton's winning national championships, Division 1. So again, it's all so different.
Right.
But back then, Hobart was D3. You know, so we're going into Hobart was the team to beat, not Roanoke or W&L. I heard ODAC. When I got to Virginia Western, I was like, oh, I'm playing Roanoke. Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't have my humble pie ready for that, for sure. But holy cow, Dan Morrison.
Yeah.
Up my ass for a freaking 60 minutes everywhere I went. Yeah, he knew what flavored gum I was chewing for sure.
Yeah, that's right. And again, this stuff helps you in life, though. As we wrap up here the last couple minutes of the podcast for the season, I think one of the great feedbacks I've gotten from folks, a lot of you guys out there that listen, is that we love that you guys just don't talk about scores or stats or like, who could be better at dodging or who could be better on defense. They say you guys bring the philosophical life lessons into it. And if you guys haven't picked up on that by now, maybe just have us on mute, because that's the most important thing here. We both love this game so much. It's given us so much in our life. It does every day. And we try to use that in a positive way when things go wrong, when things go awry, and when things are great, right? You got to talk about the positives, you got to talk about the negatives, and you got to talk about what's next and how to prepare yourself to get better. I'm being hard on myself because I should be, but I'm like, I can't wait to get out there and play next week, man. I want to be better. I'm 46, I got nothing to prove to anybody, right? But I want to go out there and play with my son and play with H and Tommy and all these guys. And Coach Luke was out there, scored 3 goals in this game last night.
Let's go, young buck.
He was awesome, man. Like, I want to go out there and compete just for myself because I want to get better.
Coach Lucas' team. Can I be on his team?
Dude, yeah, they got some hammers on that team, man.
Yeah, I saw his group pick there. I'm going to be on that team.
Oh yeah, they got some good players. It's a really good mix in the adult league, and again, fun for the kids to go because a lot of the guys obviously are local. So a lot of the adult players, which are really college and above, but a lot of the guys are local. And you go, who's that guy? And they go, he went to Grassfield, and I went, he did? Holy cow! He's really good, right? Not that I don't believe in you, Grassfield.
Coach Herman coached him up. Dave Herman.
Dave Herman, great man. Yeah, absolutely. But you go, man, like you watch a kid like Thomas Lewis come back after 1 year of college. He was always a good player, but he's gotten that much better. It's like, damn, these guys are like. It's so good to see that. You go, man, he's toying with people out there in the adult league. He's getting that much better. And that's another thing too. One of the things I want to leave the kids with and the parents is, Coach T made an awesome point. I use salient too. You're making fun of me with that.
No, I love it.
But okay. But he really did make a great point of like, I'm trying to see what this kid's going to be in 4 years. Not what he is right now as a junior or senior. That's cool. Because I can't see it. I'm trying to get myself together for next week. what I'm looking at is pretty bad.
Yeah, but if your culture, if your culture is good and your culture is right,
yes.
Again, that's subjective. That's what I think my culture should be, or what us coaches think the culture should be together.
Right, exactly.
But again, I think that also helps greatly and almost takes care of itself too with the person.
Yes.
If they buy in, again,
Right.
if you don't buy into it, then okay.
But isn't that true at work too? I mean, it's like if you don't buy into what you're doing, if you're having a loan, you're not doing what you're supposed to do, or you're not.
I am the glorified
you're just
PDF polisher now in the city of Virginia Beach.
Yeah, like you're
I
just
would be
spinning your wheels.
the lacrosse equivalent of the free clear midfielder, maybe the, no offense, Jaeger, Matty Rogers, to kill him, D midfielder.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah,
again,
you spin your wheels.
I'm grateful I have a job. I'm employed.
Me too.
I woke up again today. I get to feed myself and my family.
That's right.
Life is good. Life is good.
Absolutely. You got something to take us out one last time, Coach
Yeah,
Holava,
I'm going to
sign off.
We're going to talk about just quick about the state championship game. Going to the game. Former Coach H. Going to watch the guys. I get one of the parents right by the concessions. We're all going to get up there, but she grabs me and tells me it's Elijah Lamb's mom. Elijah, you're lucky, buddy. She grabs me, tells me this story about Elijah, whatever. She's going to send me a text, whatever. Of course, feels good to hear that from me. It's been kind of a quiet phone, to be honest, for the season after I resigned. But it was great to hear, obviously, for me. So again, I trust God's plan, you believe in karma, whatever you want. I mean, I'm watching this game, and sure enough, it was rough for Kellum. I mean, they seemed slower, that's all. Not used to the speed. But who scores the first goal of the game? Elijah Lamb. Who scored the second goal of the game? Elijah Lamb. Really good. I couldn't believe it. It seemed like God's plan to me, but it was cool. But guys, so proud of you. What a year. Holy moly.
Yeah.
Holy moly. Second year program going to the state championship game. I mean, again, give a lot of hope for the area, guys.
Yes.
Everyone can get there. Okay?
Yes, we can.
We've been saying
yes,
that.
We can.
If a human can do it, you can do it. But again, it's got to take your work. You got to do all that stuff. Coach, I'm going to leave you with a Mindset Monday here on Friday. Or what day is it? Thursday.
It's Thursday, right?
It's Thursday. All right, here we go.
Summer's gets rough.
Yeah. So, I mean, I almost laughed out loud when Coach Thompson said elephant in the room. But this, I got off with this. The elephant in the room. Yeah, as you may or may not know, I was the coach of the 5A state runner-up Kellum Knights through the first game versus Cape Henry, and I resigned the following week. Last season, the inaugural season for VHL Lacrosse, Kellum was a 6A team, and we were the region runner-up to Cosby High School. We advanced to the state tournament quarterfinals, and we lost at Battlefield. It was a tremendous start for the program, brand new program. I was named Regional Coach of the Year last year for that. But again, I resigned March 22. I learned a lot over the past several years. Some good things, some not so good things. But I'm sharing some of them, the good and the bad. No matter how good you are to some people, they will turn their backs on you. Don't take it personally. Just keep being good to people. But guard your heart a bit. You're the villain in someone's story, and that's okay. Everyone has their truth. Stick to yours, and don't try to defend yourself. Your actions speak much louder than your words ever will. No matter how nice your pictures are, or how important the things you post are, some people just won't hit the like button because it's you. And the first thing people do when they're feeling a certain way about you is stop liking anything you post. Post anyway, share your pictures and your stories. They put a smile on someone's face. Not everyone has the same heart as you. Just because you'll do it for them doesn't mean they'll do it for you. And it's unfair to both of you to expect that. You will be excluded, and that will hurt a lot. You'll never understand why, but you will remember the pain of being left out. And you will make sure to include everyone so no one ever has to feel the way you did. Your kids, or future kids, will be excluded. And trust me, this hurts even more. But it's a great teachable opportunity for both of us, both of you. When you put good out into the world, good comes back. I call it God's plan, but call it karma, the universe, or whatever you want. But it's true. If you are kind, kindness will flood your doorsteps. You can't be liked by everyone, no matter how hard you try. Some people just won't like you. Some it's from personal experience. Sometimes it's from what others have told them. Once you accept that, life gets a lot easier. I always own my part in all of that. Friends come and go. Unfortunately, it's life. Sometimes friendships you thought would last forever end abruptly, and you're left wondering why. Stop wondering. You're never going to feel satisfied with any answer they give you. Own your part in it and learn from it, and then close that door. The chapter is ended. Allow a new one to begin. Make sure a new one begins. A simple text to see how someone is doing can mean the world. Knowing that someone is thinking about you and cares can turn a whole day around. Send the text. No one owes you anything. Forgive even if you don't get an apology. You can't begin to heal while you're still holding on to the hurt. Let it hurt for a moment, forgive, and let it go. You're going to be too much for people, too loud, too opinionated, too talkative. Those people will never get you. Find the ones who do and love them hard. People are going to talk about you. Give them good material. Extend grace to those who need it. We all struggle sometimes. Life is tough, it's messy, and it's ugly at times, but it's also beautiful, exciting, and full of adventure. Chase it all. Be a light. Don't let anyone dull your shine. You never know who may be watching and looking to you for a little bit of joy. Be that joy. And most importantly, embrace your suckiness and forgive yourself for not being perfect. Perfect is boring. Anyway, Coach Hargrave, I will sign off.
Yes.
With some wise words from the slightly older this week, in his birthday week, Mikey, Holava. Mikey says, a smile is a curve that keeps everything straight. Words of wisdom, Mikey. Much love to all of you, and thank you for sticking with me all these years, for sure. Amor fati.
I love it. I love it.
To say. Thanks
Guys,
for
this
sticking with
has
that
been-
long-winded read there,
No,
everybody.
it's great, and I love it. This has been awesome. I can't believe I missed it the last 2 weeks, and this was on myself. Nobody even called me out. Congratulations to two of our former players, Grace and Maggie, who committed to Washington College, and Carter Jane, who committed to
go.
Messiah.
Nice.
So proud of those guys. Please take to heart what Coach just said. Kids, forget about the freaking likes on Instagram. Forget about the all-star teams or all conference or all this. Who cares? Do things for the betterment of yourself. Be good to everybody else. Be great teammates. This has been such a great couple months. We can't wait to come back next year to do it. Have even bigger and better guests. I don't know how we're going to top some of the things we did, but we'll be back next year. And everybody keep having fun, keep competing, and keep working. And thank you, Scotty.
Yeah,
for
what a
doing
great
this with
opportunity
me.
this has been.
And thanks to the Sportsplex. This has been to Nick Senti and to Matt Hatfield, who have put up with all of our craziness, and they've been amazing. And Chuck as well. Thank you guys for everything. It's been really, really fun. We hope we're making a difference.
I had a blast doing this. Again, I trust God's plan. I said, okay, we retire the whistle. Now we got a podcast, though. I said, what the heck are we going to do with this?
Yeah.
Hopefully we did good with it. I think we did. I felt like we got more intentional maybe each week.
For
Kinda
sure.
had a plan going. I thought the guests were awesome. What a
They
blast
were.
talking to some of these guys. And we'll see where we go from here, you know?
Absolutely.
But yeah, awesome. Thanks for sticking
All right.
with us, everybody. and
Thanks,
listen to all
everybody.
of it.
Have a great
Appreciate
summer.
y'all.
Over and out.
Peace.
Peace. Oh, man.